Today, the Senate will have an opportunity to advance another COVID-19 relief package for American families. For more than 7 months now, the American people have been facing what one writer described as a health crisis with an economic crisis strapped to its back. The Senate has stepped up repeatedly on a bipartisan basis to help our nation through this challenge. Today, we have an opportunity to do it once again. The legislation before us is neither Republican nor Democrat, neither of us idea of a perfect bill. I think we're all clear on that, but it would move us past Speaker Pelosi's all-or-nothing obstruction and deliver huge support right now for the most pressing needs of our country. Republicans want to conquer this disease through testing, treatments, and vaccines. Democrats say they agree with us. Republicans want to pour money into safe schools and make sure an entire generation of kids don't fall any further behind. And Democrats say they agree with that. Republicans want to reopen the Paycheck Protection Program so that main streets across America don't turn into COVID ghost towns, so that millions of workers can keep their jobs and keep getting paid. Democrats say they agree with that. For workers who've been laid off, Republicans want to renew the federal supplement to unemployment insurance. Democrats say they agree with that. Republicans want to cement health protections for Americans with pre-existing conditions, including COVID-19 itself. Democrats claim they're all over that issue. And Republicans want to take our nation's college presidents, nonprofit leaders, and employers at their word when they say they need common sense protection so that legal uncertainty does not block their reopening. The bill on the floor would do every one of those things and much more. The overwhelming bulk of it are programs that Democrats claim they support. Well, it turns out there's a special perk to being a United States Senator. When you actually support something, you get to vote for it. When you actually support something, you get to vote for it. When you actually want an outcome, you vote for it. Strangely enough, that's not what seems to be happening. Our Democratic colleagues have been happy to talk about further relief as long as it remained a hypothetical concept. But every time the Senate's had a chance to actually do something, they've said no. In July, Republicans tried to continue the federal plus-up to unemployment insurance before it expired. Senator Schumer blocked it. In August, Senator McConnell fought again to restart those benefits for laid-off Americans. Once again, Democrats stopped it cold. In September, Republicans wrote a sweeping proposal to deliver hundreds of billions of dollars for safe schools, unemployment benefits, paycheck protection, and the health care fight. Every single Senate Democrat voted to kill it all, except the junior senator for California, who didn't vote. This has been the dynamic for months now. Republicans trying to pass common sense policies that Democrats say they support, and Democrats replying that working people can't get a dime, unless Speaker Pelosi gets everything she wants. We're talking about silly stuff, Mr. President. Massive tax cuts for rich people in blue states, stimulus checks for people in our country illegally, wheelbarrows of cash out of any proportion to COVID needs for state and city governments that Democrats have mismanaged for decades, removing longstanding bipartisan Hyde protections that protect taxpayers from funding abortions. Now, I hear they don't want to renew the PPP unless it sends money to Planned Parenthood and criminals who are literally currently in prison. Let me say that again. They don't want to renew PPP unless it sends money to Planned Parenthood and criminals who are literally currently in prison. These are the kinds of far-left demands over which Democrats have blocked kitchen table assistance for American families and health care support to crush the virus. During this historic crisis, the Democratic leaders have elected to deny struggling people the help they need unless President Trump signs the entire Democratic Party platform into law. Today, we're providing another chance to right the ship. In a few minutes, senators will vote to either advance or filibuster a broad package that would deliver on all kinds of urgent needs: testing, treatments, vaccines, safe schools for our kids, a second round of the job-saving PPP, more federal unemployment benefits, the legal protections that university presidents and charities say they need, protections for pre-existing conditions. There's almost nothing in this proposal that Democrats even claim to oppose. And just last week, the entire country watched our colleagues on the Judiciary Committee complain over and over about having to fulfill those responsibilities when they supposedly wanted to be working on a coronavirus relief package. Well, we'll see who walks the walk. I'm confident the Democratic leader will repeat the same tired attacks he's been recycling since the summertime. He'll say that we shouldn't do anything unless we do everything. He'll argue this multi-hundred-billion-dollar bill is paltry. That's $500 billion is paltry, or meager, or emaciated, $500 billion. Now, I'm not kidding, Mr. President. This is seriously their claim, that $500 billion for working people is chump change. It's not worth their time. Hundreds of billions of dollars targeted directly to struggling people doesn't even get Democrats out of bed in the morning. Well, perhaps to the blue state billionaires, who seem to be the Democrats' top priority, these historic sums of money do look like chump change. Maybe coastal elites who can practically find $1 million in their couch cushions are indifferent about whether we get an outcome here. Well, believe me, working families like the Kentuckians I represent don't see it that way. Millions of workers have been able to keep their jobs and support their families because of the Paycheck Protection Program. Republicans want to fund a whole second round of that. Today, Democrats will either vote to advance it or vote to kill it. Students, teachers, and parents need to know their K-12 schools are as safe as possible. Republicans want to send an historic sum of money to those schools. Today, Democrats will either vote to advance it or vote to kill it. For the historic numbers of Americans who've been laid off, additional federal unemployment benefits have been a lifeline. Republicans want to restore them. Today, Democrats will either vote to advance it or vote to kill it. Colleges, universities, charities, and small business need common sense legal protections. And with cases spiking, our whole country needs further investment in testing, tracing, and vaccines. Today, the Democrats will either vote to advance all that or vote to kill it. Struggling people don't need more endless arguments. They don't need to keep waking up and listening to reporters speculate on whether the Speaker of the House is in a good mood that day because their very livelihood may depend on it. The country needs an outcome. The country needs an outcome. Let's put aside our differences, agree where we can, and move forward. Why not get the country in a better place while Washington continues to argue over all the rest? If the sun sets today with no progress, if the Senate turns to Judge Barrett's nomination without having advanced another historic rescue package, it will only be because Senate Democrats used the filibuster to kill this aid. If this relief does not pass, it will be because Senate Democrats chose to do Speaker Pelosi's political dirty work rather than stand up for struggling people. So, Mr. President, let's not go there. Let's find our common sense agree where we can, and advance this legislation while we debate the rest. The American people deserve action.